Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. Roses would be...
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right? I want a man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
Is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
They'd love to be driven hard.
Welcome to Auto Off Topic. How are you, Brad?
Andrew, I am good. I would like to start this episode by immediately saying that even though it's been another week, I still haven't touched a car.
All right, like not even driven a car, just like not touched a car at all.
I haven't driven a car that's not a Toyota Camry.
Oh,
So nothing of note.
there you go.
I put a cover back on a car that blew off in a windstorm. That's about as exciting as it's gotten. I'm still kind of in a holding pattern here, just with everything kind of in chaos with the backyard because of the garage build project. So the hope is that by sometime next week, I'll be able to move cars around again. So yeah, no, I have not done anything at all. Also, actually, while we're on the subject of thinking about things we talked about before, I'd also like to take this moment to be the bigger man and call a truce with our friends over at another Pointless Automotive podcast. They called us back out again after calling them out for their $5,000 car challenge after we did a $10,000 car challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. So just wanted to let them know that it was all in good fun, and we do appreciate their podcast, and I do admit that it is a low hanging fruit subject. So I'm sure that they had it planned long before our episode was planned, but I'll take their word for it. So
All right.
they are still claiming that their seltzer choice is the superior seltzer choice, but we'll just let them think they're right and just enjoy our polar in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think about
total.
them at all. So.
Whoa! Oof! Ouch! 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 Well, listen. They missed a couple weeks recording, so I thought that we'd got them, but I guess they came back. So, which is good because I do enjoy listening to them, and they buy and sell way more cars than us, so they're even crazier than we are. It's
I don't know. We fall too easily in love, so nothing gets sold.
Yeah, this is true. Speaking of, officially on the market, there is a Mercor. So if anybody's interested in a 1989 Mercor XR4Ti with 80,000 miles on it and a 5-speed manual, hit me up.
And you too can enjoy comedy when you go to the parts store to get parts for it.
Yes. And it will be as sordid as it can be when it sells. I say that knowing that you're buying a Mercor and things do go wrong. But I do need to move it because I'm building a garage, and that cash could be better spent on electricity and doors and all those things in the garage. So I'd like to use that to fund some of the garage build if I can. So it will be sold with fresh timing belt and fresh power steering lines because those are what's currently not good in the car, but that'll be taken care of at some point next week, and the timing belt will be done at the same time, and it will be as trouble-free and ready to go as an 89 Mercor XR4Ti can be.
Did it get new tires for Radwood?
It will also have new tires. It did not get new tires for Radwood. It went locally on the old tires. They're actually... I can hear everybody right now making fun of me, but by my standards, they're not that old. By the world standards, I will replace them and put new ones on for the sale. So I think they're a 2009 build stamping on them. So it feels like yesterday, but folks, that was 15 years ago. So these tires should be replaced.
All right, fine. I have tires from 2014 on the Galant, so 10 years old.
So I've had this conversation a million times on the air, off the air, in the Discord, wherever. Tire health is entirely based on the environment and where you live and the environment in which they're stored. So the 5-year tire life thing that's kind of like the standard nowadays, I think is too low. I think by 10 years, you should definitely be looking at them and making sure they're still good. And if you're in a place like Phoenix and the tires have been outside in the heat, you're probably beyond the life cycle of the tires. But I think that 10 years is, in most scenarios, for a not driven that much car, is not that big a deal. So just keep an eye on them. And, I wouldn't plan a road trip on 10-year-old tires, but if you're just using it locally, it's probably not a big deal. So that being said, I will put brand new tires on the Mercor before it is sold as well. So it'll have, as of next week, hopefully it will have new power steering lines, new timing belt, and new tires.
All right, there you go.
Yep. So anybody wants one, it's on the market. Reasonable pricing is out there. But contact me for that number because there is a sliding scale depending on if you're a listener to the show or a Facebook Marketplace customer.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't really touched anything. I drove the Galant, just ran an errand on it with it the other day because I didn't actually use it to go to Team O'Neill. But it's weird. There was definitely it felt like one of the brakes was hanging up and it didn't want to roll very easily. And then driving it around town a little bit, now it rolls fine. So,
I mean,
not sure
that
which
could
one.
Be if something, especially in your area, in that environment, it's a very damp environment. The garage isn't totally dry, and that's all bare metal inside the braking system. And if it sits for a while, it hangs up, and you start using it, and it self lubricates itself, right?
I guess I was trying to look at the wheels and see which one was darker, but seems to have freed itself up from just being driven, so that's good.
You need to get one of those laser temperature sensors and put it on each rotor after a drive. See if one of them's warmer than the others.
Yeah, I mean, with the white wheels, it's kind of easy to tell if one's making a lot more dust.
This is true too.
Yeah. But what I did do is I got replacement. They call them masks for the Moret headlights, the surrounds.
Yeah, I believe the American term would be bezels.
Yeah. They're great. I took the ones that I had, which were pretty rough, and I used some 320 to get them down. They were still pretty rough. And then I had black trim paint, and I just coated them with black trim paint.
Yeah.
And they look okay. They'll work for now. I can at least drive the car. And in the meantime, I'll figure out who I can have paint the other ones. But so it's put back together now, at least.
Usable vehicles are better than non-usable vehicles.
Yeah, it was my own. I stepped on the rake with that one.
It happens once in a while. We've all done it.
Mm-hmm. But
start a small project. Next thing you know, you have a huge project.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. I haven't done much at all.
I mean, you went to the Team O'Neill rally. How'd that go?
It was pretty easy for me. I was just crewing for our buddy Jordan and other buddy Andy, and really all I was doing was watching the dogs. Jordan's dog Loki.
I mean,
and Ralph.
that's an important part of crew when you crew for Jordan's team. So
yeah,
I follow him on Instagram. He's a Ditch Hookers Rally.
or
Ditch Hookers. His name is
I think just ditch hookers.
search ditch hookers. It'll come up. Yeah.
I took just a nap. Not much happened. Car was fine.
Excellent.
Both cars are fine.
Well, that's good. That's a positive result. They
Who
both
came in
finished the
second?
entire day. Who came in second? Jordan?
Yeah, in his class. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So.
And Andy's car, that was his second event?
Oh no, I think it's like third, fourth, maybe fifth.
Oh, okay. But
Done
hey,
quite a few.
it made it the whole day, so that's good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Any
Any other vehicles of note up there?
Not really. Just typical Subarus. Our old friend Kathy Moody's got her, I think it's a 260Z.
260, yeah.
Yeah. Which I think she damaged it at a hill climb.
Yeah, I think she damaged it at a Scutney, maybe?
Yeah. Well, they got donor parts to put it all back together. It's looking, the paint doesn't match, but it's all back together. It's running. So.
Yeah, it's a rally car. That's all that matters. As long as it goes in a straight line and you're happy.
Yep. I mean, that's probably the only other like super cool car. Everything else is kind of like pretty typical.
Yeah, I know that Jordan is one of the few rear-wheel drive 240s that run up there, right? So possibly the only one right now.
Sometimes there's a couple of coupes, but yeah, I think he was one of the only other rear-wheel drive cars.
Excellent.
But it's just it's like it was a nice day. It wasn't raining, and they didn't do NEFR this year, so that would have been like this past weekend, basically.
Right.
But it was just that's just what they call a gravel trial now. So it is
It's
what
like
it
a
is.
short form stage rally.
Yeah, because it's just all within the Team O'Neill school. So
Right. Sweet. Yeah, I've done literally nothing. I went to a Cars and Coffee. That's about it. So I have nothing to add to the automotive lifestyle portion of the podcast.
no, it's I don't know. This summer's been like so quiet. I got the only thing that's coming up is Grid Life, Circuit Legends.
Yep.
And then
At
Staggered.
Lime Rock.
Yep.
Also at Lime Rock?
No, Thompson.
Okay.
Which trying to see
Those both
when
look
that
like good
is.
events. So
Yeah, they're August 16th. So 16th and 17th.
that's
I
staggered.
will be there. That's for Circuit Legends. So I will be there
Okay.
on 2 weeks from now. I will be there on Saturday, definitely. And I'll probably be at Staggered on Saturday as well, which is
Staggered's in like a month.
Labor
though.
Day weekend.
Yeah.
It's not really in a month. Oh yeah, it is in a month.
Yep. Yeah, because
And-
today's
and
what, July
August.
31st? That's August
Yeah.
30th is the first day of that. So
Yeah.
it's about a month. I'm kind of bummed. I wanted to go to that this year. I was going to try to get out there, but there's 2 other reasons I have to go back to Massachusetts this year. So one is this coming weekend, and then one is in November. So I will not be also going there in August for Staggered. So maybe next year. We are doing, or I shouldn't say we, there is a similar event to Staggered and the other one you're talking about there, Grid Life, that's coming here in the fall. It's going to be the same kind of deal where it's a car show, track day, drift day, weekend automotive party. So I'll be planning to go to that, but that's not, I don't think till September maybe. And the name of it is completely lost on my head right now, so I'd have to look it up. But I don't know. I'll bring up that later when I figure out when the date is. But it seems to be kind of a thing that a lot of places are starting to host now at racetracks, which is cool because the combo of all those things is neat to have. It's a whole new kind of festival, I guess. So it's like a music festival for car people.
Cool. Well, another exciting episode.
Southwest Speed Fest. That's the name of it.
Yeah.
So it's September 21st and 26th here in Arizona at Podium Club. So
It sounds very much like a Grid Life clone or knockoff or.
Podium Club's the
inspired
name
by-
of the racetrack, I think.
Well, Southwest Speed Festival, is that what you said it was?
Yeah, yep, Southwest Speed Fest. So time attack, drifting, HPDE, live music, vendors, and a car show. So
Yep, that's
basically
Grid Life.
Grid Life, yep.
Hey, I mean, whatever. The formula works. If you do a different name for it, I mean, I've talked about it before. That's a good way to do a car show. That's the way Staggered is too.
Yeah, 100%.
Like-
And the time attack on this is actual. It's a global time attack. So they're behind it.
Cool.
Yep.
That's worth going to.
I'm 100% going to that. It's a friend of a friend is kind of in charge of putting it on, and he asked if we could get some cars together for the car show portion. So I'll be going out there in the Cressida. So
That's
the
easy.
hope is to be debuting the new wheel setup on the Cressida there. Which means I gotta
Okay.
get my butt in gear and get the wheels finished.
Yeah. Why don't you do that?
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Everything on the list is after garage, but I have 2 months to get it done, so hopefully I can get them done. I don't think the tires and the Cressida would last the drive out there and back now at this point anyway, so it's time to make the change. So actually I did drive the Cressida to a Cars and Coffee this weekend. Was able to do that pre 9 a.m. so it wasn't too
I was gonna say
wasn't too hot. But yeah, right hand drive AZ put on an event in the, I don't know, it's about 25 minutes from here, and my Naomi's son Jordan was heading out there with his other right hand drive friends because he has a Toyota Hiace van, and he's like, hey, we're going out to this event. It's not just for right hand drive cars, but the right hand drive AZ Car Club, I guess, is the name of the club that was putting it on. So I met them out there and rolled in with a bunch of right hand drive cars in my left hand drive car. But
yeah.
whatever.
You're
If it's
on
the
wrong
aesthetic.
side.
Yeah, wrong side, exactly. That was the license plate he was trying to get for his Hiace van, but somebody else had it. It was neat actually leaving there, cruising home. I was driving home with a bunch of other Toyota sedans on the freeway, kind
So-
of unintentionally.
When you pulled in and they had like a check-in, what side of the car were they on?
It was a Cars and Coffee. There was no check-in.
Oh, okay.
It was not a car show.
Okay.
So there's no events here really this time of year that are like full car shows because nobody wants to be out past
No.
9:30 in the morning because it gets too hot. So, especially in an old car without AC. It did make me think that I should probably get the AC fixed in that car because I could use it a little bit more if that was the case. And it's complete. All the parts are there. So I don't know if I mentioned it on the air or not, but I did come into a bunch of old R12s recently. So I have a stash of, 15 or so of the small R12 cans.
Yeah.
So I can refill it with R12, but the problem is I don't want to just put R12 in it and then find out that all the O-rings are bad and all of that very expensive vintage R12 just leaks out into the atmosphere and I lose it all. So I have to test it with something else first. So I've been doing some research into alternatives for R12 that I can do that with because the car has not been converted to R134. So if I can fill it with R12, that would be ideal because that's what it was designed to run on and it will run most efficiently. So I've been looking into some of the alternatives that you can use, and one of them is a product called R12B. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
No.
It's the problem is, and why you don't see it used whole, on a bigger scale, is because it's flammable. So if you had a leak under your car, you're venting a flammable fuel. But if it's not leaking, it's fine. That being said, it's fairly inexpensive, and I could use it to find leaks and, make sure it gets purged before I run R12 in the car. But I don't know. It's a whole thing I got to look into. So, is it flammable? Sure, but so is also fuel, which is in the car.
Yeah.
So,
What if it's inflammable?
Yes, or as George Bush liked to say, it is flammable. Flammable.
Who knew inflammable meant flammable?
Yeah.
What a country.
So yeah, it's a flammable product, but so are a lot of other liquids that are in the car. So I'm not terribly worried about it. Also, when you're talking about 16 ounces of something, it's not going to cause a huge fire probably. But I'm not going to run it in the car, but I might use it to test the system. So we'll see what happens. I'm still doing some research. So if you know about that stuff, let me know. But R12B is readily available on Amazon. So, and it's completely compatible with R12. So,
yeah, I gotta look at the AC in the Galant. It's not very cold, but the compressor's kicking on, so there's something in there. But
just
it's
low.
not really getting cold. Yeah, and the Montero doesn't blow that cold anymore either. So I'm gonna check that out.
I mean, they're old systems. They probably have O-ring leaks or something, right?
Yeah, if they don't get used, because that actually does help when it gets used. So,
Just like anything, when you're using it, the system gets lubricated and seals get lubricated, and the same goes for all of the fluids in the car. So it's like the Sapporo doesn't leak transmission fluid if you use it, but if you let the thing sit for 2 or 3 months at a time, it leaks transmission fluid out of the pan. So it's all part of old car life.
mm-hmm.
Fluids need to be cycled through. So I'm guilty of not doing it because my cars sit for too long in between uses sometimes, but hopefully with the new setup with the garage, I'll be able to cycle through the cars a little easier because things won't get as buried or as far behind. So anyway, any automotive news to cover this week, Andrew? We don't have any NASCAR to talk about, so our NASCAR hating listeners, our NASCAR hating listeners should be happy with that. We're not going to talk about the Olympics, so you can move on from that.
No,
but there is some
some
automotive news.
Strangely, this week, get 3 German companies filing for bankruptcy or insolvency, or they're all having financial troubles. First one interesting because I literally just bought a whole setup off of our buddy Bradley. He was getting rid of it. A Fanatec sim wheel setup.
I believe it's some insider trading happening there. He knew.
Yeah, I think he
knew they were going under, and he's like, "I get rid of this thing. What sucker will buy this before they go under?"
But yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I guess they, sim racing, and that's how when I bought my first version of my sim rig, which was the Logitech G920. I bought it April 2020, COVID or whatever, or March. I may have bought it in March, early on, because it was well, we're not going anywhere. I might as well do some driving, and everybody was doing sim leagues, so I kind of got into it, and then I was it worked all right. It got the job done, but Bradley was selling the setup for a good price, and Fanatec's not cheap stuff. It's not as expensive as you can go, but it's
well, just like anything, there's always a level that you can't afford, right?
Yeah, it's middle range nice, I think. And it's funny, you actually got to try it out before I even bought it, because when you went to
about a year before you got it, I played it at Bradley's house. Yeah.
And I maybe I talked about it on the podcast, I don't remember, but I had to buy a special wheel to work with the Xbox, because apparently all the software to work with the Xbox is in the wheel and not in that's the thing with the Fanatec stuff. You buy everything in pieces, which is a lot like when you get into, we were just talking about it off air, like hobby grade RC stuff versus what you buy at like the toy store, which toy stores don't really exist anymore. When you buy it like Target.
Toy Store is not existing anymore. It was my first introduction to the private equity firms that are now ruining all the other companies you're talking about.
Yes.
They ruined Toys R Us too.
You can buy everything in pieces, right? So you can change out components if they're compatible. You can change out components, which is kind of nice because you're like, all right, if one thing breaks, on the one hand, stuff is a little more expensive. On the other hand, that means that stuff is a separate piece, and that ideally, if it broke or it needed service, you should be able to service it. I would hope.
Yeah, well,
Or
the simplest
serviced.
explanation that everybody probably is familiar with is this is the difference between a PC and a Mac.
Yeah.
You know, a PC, you have all these different companies that support the Windows operating system, and you can buy from anybody. And the Mac is like, you got to have Apple fix your product. That's all. That's it.
Well, that was true like 30 years ago. It's a little less true now, but
Well, I'm a little behind on my Apple technology, I guess, but
yeah, since they're so much popular now, a lot of people fix them. You can get a lot of peripherals for Macs now. But
all right, fine. I'm wrong apparently. So
anyway,
moving on.
I bought that wheel, followed the instructions, did the firmware upgrade, and then it wouldn't work. And I was like, what the heck?
And Andrew is famously patient with electronics, so I'm sure he wasn't frustrated at all.
No. And then that's the worst part is because I write instructions for a living, I make it a point to read instruction manuals. Because one, I appreciate the effort that somebody put into it. And two, there's usually important things in there that if you don't read them, you miss. And they had this little note about before you use it, plug it in and update the firmware. Okay, so that's what I did, and it didn't work. So I go into Google, crummy Google, and avoid the AI answer. And you find the forum posts, and yeah, I'm talking about everything that's getting crummy now. You avoid the forum posts, or you avoid that, and you get down to the forum posts, and people are like, "Yeah, don't upgrade the firmware; it breaks it. It's not the newest one is not a stable version." You're like, why is that even available for me to download?
Right. It's like downloading your phone update on day one and your phone doesn't work very well.
Yeah. It's like, come on. So I had to once I figured that out a few days later and backdated it, now it's been working great. So, but I've heard horror stories, like our buddy listener, Steve, bought a whole brand new setup for his wife because she wanted to do sim racing, and it's been a nightmare apparently to get it to work right. And their service, when you read about Fanatec service, has been really horrible for the last 2 or 3 years, I guess. Warranty claims take a long time to get parts. It apparently, I was getting to the point during the pandemic, everybody got into sim racing, kind of like Peloton. Everybody wanted Peloton bikes. This company expanded extremely rapidly because of the pandemic. Everybody was buying their stuff, and they have apparently over leveraged themselves and have too much stock and went too much into debt buying supplies, and not, there was a chip shortage, right? So they didn't have enough chips to build certain things. So parts, making components were delayed, and this whole thing. So
it's like a perfect storm of problems.
Yeah, some mismanagement. Apparently they built a new headquarters with all this newfound success during the pandemic, but they overbuilt the size of the, building, probably spent too much money, right? So now they're in a huge amount of debt.
The classic, this money stream will never end. We should just spend it.
Yeah. Instead of just being a little more careful. I can't really feel bad for them, but it's a little disappointing for the consumer, me, because now I'm worried, am I going to be able to get parts for this thing, hopefully? It sounds like they're trying to keep the company going. Fanatec parent company is Endor AG, which is a German company. And there's some other company involved. A PC accessory company called Corsair. who was apparently trying to buy Endor and was like paying their debt. But then it must be some money play where they're like, we're not going to pay the debt anymore. We'll just let you go into bankruptcy, and then they'll buy it for cheaper.
Pennies on the dollar. Yeah.
Yeah. And then hopefully, because they were trying to restructure, Endor was trying to restructure under like German law, and like they couldn't get the plans together or something, and couldn't make it work.
So you'll be able to buy an Endor steering wheel and just say, is Fanatec guts?
Yeah. So I don't know. It sounds like it's still going to be around. It's just they have to do some restructuring. It's just kind of funny that like this news came out and then it was either the same day or a few hours later. Yeah, right? It was like, yeah, this was today.
It was all
31st.
today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all today.
Yeah.
Like a few hours later, it was like BBS declared insolvency. For
Which is
apparently
not
the fifth
entirely surprising because it's their fifth time in 20 years or 24 years.
2007.
Yeah.
But again, another German company. Weird. But, again, it's like all these venture capital companies, they just buy the name, strip stuff for parts. It's not profitable. Sell it off to some other company. And it just kind of goes around and around.
Yeah.
However,
hey, this is a much larger version of what happened to me at Barrett Jackson.
Yeah. However, the Autopian post about it actually makes some good points. It's like, why weren't they just, and this brings me to another point that we've complained about before. So you've got a company like BBS, has a storied history with a lot of really cool wheel designs that they probably still own the rights to. Why don't they remake them? Like,
Sure.
Because like somebody there is not paying attention to what's happening in the automotive space right now, right? So the biggest thing right now, 80s and 90s cars, and now we're getting into 2000s cars. So why are you not building wheels that you already made before, or you should be reproducing them in sizes that fit those cars? Because you should look at what's being bought and sold used, right? Like, I don't even, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what a set of BBS RS is going for right now.
Like $2,500 and a good fitment for the right car. Used.
Right?
Yeah.
So, used. Now, what if you just could buy brand new ones from BBS? And they, like,
I'm sure they could make them at a price point for $2,500 or $3,000.
Yeah,
that people
and they're
would much rather pay and order their specific fitment and
exactly
finish and everything.
Because what's happening now is, since BBS is not making them, people are making knockoffs.
I was going to say, and there is a huge thriving aftermarket of knockoff companies like, your ESMs and your Clutch wheels and whatever other companies are out there making BBS style wheels. Whatever knockoff brand that came on the Mercor when I bought it, those were knockoff BBSs, and they looked like BBSs, and they're so close that the center cap from a BBS would work on the wheel and fit the design without issue. And I took them off the car, and they weighed 40-something pounds each. So yeah, why aren't you making those wheels with your name and your quality? And then I guess you should be suing the pants off the copiers, right? Sure.
I don't know.
Especially because mine literally said BBS on them.
And then maybe that would force tire companies to make 15 and 16-inch, 17-inch tires again, right?
Sure.
Because
I don't see why not.
It's kind of silly. It's like they have all these iconic wheel designs that you could literally just reproduce, and people would buy them. Like, if I had the option,
probably without much effort, they probably have a lot of the stamping and the molds and everything else they used to use.
I would really prefer to buy a brand new set of BBS RSs than a set of 30-year-old ones, if I had the option.
Absolutely.
Considering the money that people spend to restore them.
It's not cheap to restore wheels either. I'm just talking about the wheels in the Cressida a little while ago, and looking at, buying replacement wheel lips for 3-piece wheels is not cheap.
Yeah.
I could certainly buy a set of brand new eBay old school looking JDM wheels for less than the price of restoring a set of wheels.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I don't want I'm not talking a wheel that's vintage inspired that looks off. Just make the same wheel that you made.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah. Don't pull an Enki and redesign the lip of their Enki 92s. Just make the original style. Why not? You are the same company. You're not doing a knockoff. You can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Krager makes an SS. Krager still makes an SS.
Still make them because that's the thing,
Yeah.
and they probably print money with that thing.
Yeah. How many sets of American racing torque thrusts have been sold over the years to classic car people? It's the same thing.
Exactly.
You can still buy a 15-inch torque thrust and a torque thrust 2 and the Halabrand wheel and all these wheels that they just continue to make over and over and over again. People buy them because they're a classic design.
I mean, you can make the 19-inch, 20-inch wheels if you want, but really, how many people are buying those?
Probably a lot. We're just not in that space.
You think so?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, that's fine. Keep making them, but
Yep.
make the other ones because you'd also make money on them.
100%. If you go to an event like a Euro car event, there's tons of new cars with 18, 19, 20-inch BBS wheels on them. All those guys buying RS6 wagons, and people are spending $100,000 on an M3. They're going to spend $10,000 on a set of BBS wheels without even blinking an eye.
I mean, that's where they're like, oh well, if we can make, $5,000 on a set of wheels or whatever it is, $10,000.
Yep.
Why should we make the other ones? But if you're struggling to make money, maybe you should make the other ones.
Yeah, no, I don't see why they don't. Well, the other thing they talk about, and you brought up to me earlier in the Autopian article, is that they make wheels that require adapters now. That's their main business model. And people don't want that. Most of their wheels from they come from a 5 on 117.5 millimeter bolt pattern, which no car uses.
It's called the BBS Unlimited.
And you have to buy the appropriate adapter to put them on your car, which in theory, I guess, works.
It's an interesting thing, right? But whenever I'm looking at aftermarket wheels and there's one with multiple bolt patterns, I'm like, that is cheap. You don't buy the one with the multiple bolt patterns.
Right.
Right? Because you're not
the one made for your car.
You're not a poor, right? So
right. I mean, I am, but that's why I buy used wheels.
But you have standards. You have standards.
Yeah. Sure.
And
it's
way.
And listen, we've also both run replica wheels in the past on our cars, so I get it. But it is what it is.
But I would have bought brand new BBS RSs and not the HREs that were super old that are on my Talon. If I could.
Possibly.
So
I'll still always have a spot in my heart for the original classic version of a wheel, but
that's fine. If you wanna collect them, that's great. But I mean, even think about offering replacement parts for your old ones.
Yeah.
Restoration kits.
Yeah, if you're making the same wheel, you can sell the lips and you can sell the bolts and all that stuff, center caps and. Yeah, as far as a car that goes to and from Cars and Coffee and car shows, I'm fine with a 30, 40-year-old restored wheel. But if I was going to do track days, I'd much rather have a brand new wheel option. So,
but anyway, so that's
bankruptcy number 2. Yeah.
So here we are at number 3. All right, so this was yesterday, the 30th. Recaro has filed for insolvency. Another German brand.
Legendary German brand.
So again, a company that's been sold through multiple different holding companies. And apparently it's the Recaro Automotive part that is in insolvency. There's different divisions, obviously, that make different seats.
Yeah, they make stuff for gaming chairs, and they make
seat
office chairs, and they make airplane seats. Like a lot of times you get I think it's Airbus. I think that has the Recaros usually.
Have you sometimes Recaro makes like bus seats too.
Yep.
Have you watched any I know we weren't going to really talk about the Olympics, but have you watched any of the Olympic like field sports of like soccer, rugby, any of that stuff?
Yeah.
Or have you seen any like soccer matches recently? I don't know what it is, but why like the de facto like seat on the sidelines is not like a bench in like Europe. It's like a Recaro seat.
Interesting.
It's probably not, it might not be a real Recaro, but it's definitely like that shape of like a racing seat.
Interesting. I have not noticed.
It's like how gaming chairs, quote unquote gaming chairs, like the de facto shape is like a racing bucket
seat.
with,
yeah.
It's weird, right?
Well, I mean, they're comfortable and they fit, right? So
I guess they look cool, like aesthetically. But it's just funny to have like a office chair with office chair wheels, but it has slots for like a harness.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. I always assumed that those were marketed towards car people. Was always my assumption, but I guess
they're always like now. Anytime you see like a video of like some streamer, some random game streamer, that's like that's like de facto like gaming seat.
You know, I've never noticed because I don't notice the seat because I'm so used to seeing that seat that it doesn't even stick out to me. But you're right. It is funny that they all have like pass-throughs for harnesses for your gaming seat.
But often you'll see like a international like soccer match, football, and like the benches will be like racing buckets. It's so weird.
Yeah, I never noticed, and I think I've just been numb to it because you see it all the time. Probably, you know, I've been watching a bunch of, you know, again talking about the Olympics, but whatever. I've been watching a bunch of rugby games because
so fast, so good,
super interesting game to watch. Now that I kind of understand it more. Yeah. I mean, I've watched a few games. I'm an expert now, actually. So
definitely.
No, but
I can't believe they missed that.
Yeah, I do so much better than them. But yeah, I had not noticed that at all. I'll have to watch another game and pay attention, I guess.
And then I was thinking about Recaro because it's summertime and there's the summertime blockbuster. And in my opinion, the greatest summertime blockbuster movie ever made is Armageddon.
Okay.
And in that movie, whatever those things are, the vehicles they drive on the meteor.
Yep.
I forget what they call them, but
I don't remember either.
I thought it was so cool when I watched the movie.
Yeah.
They had Recaro seats in them.
Actually, 98. That was 98.
Do you remember that they had Recaro seats?
I don't remember that, no. I have not watched the movie since 1998, Andrew, so.
Oh, I don't believe that. It's such a good movie.
I haven't. I saw it in the theater and I haven't seen it since.
No, come on.
Yes.
It is
100%.
The perfect summer blockbuster.
Well, it's summertime. Maybe I'll watch it again now.
But yeah, it's worth. You have to enjoy it for what it is.
Is this you walking back? It's a perfect movie now because it's not that great.
No, it is a really good movie. It's like a moment. It's like a moment in time. Like it so perfectly captures what movie making was in 1998.
Sure, I was always
Jerry
more
Bruckheimer,
of a
it's great
summer blockbuster guy. For me, I was more of a Twister guy.
Okay, that's also a good 90s movie, but
yep.
But very prominently, I thought it was very cool that those vehicles they were driving had Recaro seats in them.
I'll have to go back and watch it and pick that up because I have not picked that up. But as you said, you know, buses and airplanes and everything has Recaros in it, and I didn't learn until today, reading about the insolvency of Recaro, that it's a different division that makes the automotive seats than makes the ones in airplanes and buses.
Yep.
So, and the one that makes automotive seats is owned by a private equity firm that's American, who probably doesn't know anything about Recaro seats and their history and does not care. So,
I believe the front seats in the Galant are Recaro made.
They are Recaro, yes.
Yeah. They just don't say it on it, but they're
Mitsubishi has a long history with Recaro. So,
But yeah, so that's 3 bankruptcies, insolvencies, whatever you want to call it.
there's a
Sounds like
different
they'll-
term they use in Europe. I was reading about it earlier. It's neither of
It sounds like they'll all restructure and still continue to be around.
And if they don't, what will happen is the name is such a
Yeah.
has got such name recognition that it will be reformed somewhere else, even if not. So
What was interesting was that, according to both articles here, it's the same union for both BBS workers and Recaro workers.
that doesn't surprise me. Like an aftermarket parts
Yeah.
union
But
would make sense. They're in the same union.
apparently neither were notified, so that's kind of shitty. But
Well, I mean, all of this comes down to the fact that, and this goes probably too deep for this podcast to talk about right now, but there's only so many companies in the world that own all the companies that we know. So
Yeah.
I was watching during the basketball playoffs, they're playing in the ball arena. And I was like, how does a company that makes mason jars have enough money to own an arena? And then you look into the Ball Corporation and you're like, oh, they own everything in the grocery store. So they don't just own the company, the glass jars. They own everything. Like every
I think they
bag.
make, like, cans.
They also make cans. Yeah, all the cans you buy Coca-Cola in and all that stuff all come in Ball cans. But even the can company and the glass jar company isn't what keeps them afloat. Like they also own all the tinfoil companies and the paper plate companies and their shampoo companies and the toothpaste companies. And it's like, oh my God, like they own everything. So the list is huge and it just surprises you when you dig deep into these companies.
Our favorite company, Mitsubishi,
100%.
makes fantastic AC units and
100%.
mediocre cars.
Listen, we sit here and we talk about all these things and, in our head where we're not anti-capitalist, but we're also we go little guy, but then we watch NASCAR and we root for a guy with a Bush sponsor on his hood. Like, oh, okay, it's fine.
Yeah. But Mitsubishi also makes a Joint Strike Fighter, so there's that.
Sure. I don't know. It's just it's a funny world we live in, and it's the more you dig into it, the crazier it gets, and maybe you shouldn't dig into it. So,
have I told you about the Auto Off Topic shipping division?
Yeah, exactly. Well, anybody who's ever won anything from any of our contests knows that our shipping division would fail immediately because we never ship anything. So,
no, we don't ship door to door.
Yeah,
we just ship port to port.
Yeah, my living room to my dining room, back to the kitchen, and it never goes actually to the mailbox. So there's somebody right now who's waiting for a package that I have to ship him, and I have not shipped it. Thankfully, he didn't buy it or win it, and I told him I was going to give it to him, and it's just sitting here on my desk. So my shipping is not great, but hey, it is what it is. It's funny because I was talking on the Discord the other day, speaking of a company that's probably owned by other companies that we support as well, about joking around about becoming a crazy conspiracy theorist because I was watching a TV show. And it bears mentioning this TV show real quickly. If you have any interest in conspiracy theory TV shows, it's interesting. But in the show, it's like it was made for Auto Off Topic listeners and hosts because the main character in all the reenactment scenes drives a first-generation Toyota Cressida. The actual person who is doing the investigative reporting drives, at one point, a Toyota Tercel four-wheel drive from the 80s. And while they're driving this Tercel around, they're drinking Polar Seltzers. I was like, man, if I don't care about the conspiracy theory stuff at all, but this show is made for me, just for the automotive and seltzer content. So it's a Netflix show about political conspiracy theories called The Octopus Murders, but the Cressida and the Polar Seltzer sucked me in. So anyway,
there you go.
That's interesting automotive news, and it actually affects us. Normally we don't talk much automotive news because we don't care anything about new cars, but this is automotive news that affects old car stuff because Recaro and BBS are huge in the 80s and 90s car world. So I guess Recaro actually has been around since before they were called Recaro in the 60s. They were making Porsche seats, which I did not realize. There were two different names that combined together to become Recaro. So anyway, I finished building another RC truck. I got the disease. I got the disease when I picked up that little Pajero 1/24th scale RC truck, and it got me to thinking that I have a couple of unbuilt RC kits in the closet, and I should probably build them. So I have this 1/32nd scale RC truck, which 1/32nd scale is pretty small. And part of the reason I never took it out because I opened it when I first got it and I was like, man, all of these pieces are tiny. The pieces are tiny.
Well, 1/32nd is the size of the snap kits I've been building.
Yes. Now take the size of that kit and give it operational suspension, diffs, and steering.
Yeah, that's pretty small because those kits are really simplified.
Very small.
And don't have very many small parts at all.
It's very small. It took me longer than a normal kit would because of the size. I actually have like jeweler's goggles I had to wear in order to do the small little screws on the diff and whatnot. Because it has functional, not independent suspension because it's two solid axles, but it has, it's a 4-link with ball seat sockets and tiny little screws. And I would recommend this kit to somebody because it actually went together fairly well if you can see and handle the small parts. And they do supply you with the small screwdriver and a small Allen wrench to put it together. But you can basically throw those in the trash.
They're also 1/32nd scale? So
yeah, you can basically throw those in the trash. And I have actually just a cheap Harbor Freight like precision screwdriver set that has the small Allen head and Torx bits and the tiny little screwdriver pieces. And that was essential for putting it together because using that little handheld, like it was almost like a microscopic version of an IKEA Allen wrench. And having a much more substantial piece to hold on to with a screwdriver handle made it a lot easier. But I finished the chassis. It should be all together the rest of the way. I don't know. I'm going away here, so probably not right away, but I need to finish the electronics install and then paint and detail the body. And it is actually a 2nd-gen Montero. So,
where do you get electronics for that size?
The company makes their own.
Okay.
You can buy them directly from the company. Or there's a whole aftermarket now of microelectronics. So you can buy up to a 1/72nd scale RC truck right now. 1/72nd scale is HO. It's smaller than a Hot Wheels car.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not building that. But I bought this a long time ago because it came with a Montero body. So it sucked me in. And I just never put it together. So I finally put it together. I'm going to get it up and running. And then I've become addicted to it, just like anything else. Thanks, ADHD, right? And there's another company now that's making a true 1/24th scale chassis that does not come with a body, but has an adjustable wheelbase so that you can actually use it to fit on any scale plastic 1/24th scale model car.
A rock crawler body or
a 4x4 truck. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that will be the next project after this because I have a bunch of 1/24 scale trucks and I have a 1/24 scale 1st-gen Mighty Max kit. And I was like, I can make a replica of my new truck that I don't even have yet. So just like anything, you start getting into it and you fall down a rabbit hole. So
it's certainly interesting because like a lot of Tamiya is releasing a lot of their older stuff and it's not very expensive.
Nope. I think a lot of this has to do with, it's the Radwood effect, right? Because it's things from our youth.
Well,
that
What were we
wanted
just
all
talking
of.
about?
Yeah,
right?
BBS. What BBS should do, Tamaya is doing.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we have all this old stuff that people love. We'll just re-release it, and they do that every like 3 to 5 years. Like they'll just re-release an old kit.
Yep. So I don't even love, like, I haven't even driven an RC car much in years, but just like the act of building it and putting it together is
It's the
cathartic.
I want to put the kit together. Yeah, I've been looking at some. I'm like, I shouldn't, but maybe.
Right.
Because I just want to put one together because Tamaya's got a bunch of cool rally cars. I'm like, but maybe I don't need a 1/10 scale one. Maybe I can get one of these like 1/24 scale ones, or I don't know.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Yep. I am all in, Andrew, and I have this new garage getting built, and I will have a workbench out there that will have plenty of shelves for storage for this stuff. So I'm fully committed to building a few because I'm a dummy. But whatever. It keeps us entertained as adults now, just like it did as children. And you have an even better excuse because you have a 4-year-old. So you can get him excited with RC cars and get him into RC cars and really get the same bug that we had. Because that's how we got into cars. You know, we didn't, as a kid, like, cars are neat, but they're kind of, you know, unattainable because they're for adults, right?
Right.
So you have Hot Wheels cars and model cars, but then what really sunk us into cars was RC cars, because you could build them and work on them and modify them and go out and race them, and you know, we did. So,
which are ironically they were electric.
They were, but that's only because we couldn't afford the gas cars, because we both knew the gas cars at the time were cooler.
Yeah, but they're still kind of a pain to own.
They were a pain. They were more expensive. They were fiddly because it was small carburetor stuff, and they were noisy, so they weren't good for the neighborhood. So the electric cars were perfect.
Yeah, he was like asking me for like Power Wheels. I was like, I don't know, kiddo.
Yeah.
I'd rather get you like an RC car.
Yep.
A lot more useful for longer.
Pedal power for things you ride in, and RC car for ever in the future.
He wants me to buy a pickup truck. Like just the other day, he's like, why don't you get a pickup truck? I was like, I don't want one. He's like, but you need one. I was like, no. I was like, that's a lot of people think they need them, but they don't. They just want them.
What marketing company is marketing to 4-year-olds?
I don't know.
Somebody somewhere
he just likes pickup trucks.
Yeah.
He really wants me to tow a trailer with the Montero.
Okay.
I don't know why. He's like obsessed with towing a trailer.
Well, for his birthday, you should just go out and rent a U-Haul and just tow it around the neighborhood.
Well, anyway.
That's an episode, Andrew.
Yeah, that's an episode. Yeah, here we are. Anyway, follow us Odd Off Topic on Facebook, Odd Off Topic on Instagram and Threads. I am Ray Snanger on Instagram and Threads. And Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me at TSISS350 on Instagram and Threads, and they can hit either one of us up anywhere for the link to the Discord and come join the conversation there.
Yeah, it's super fun. I don't even know we were talking about all these bankruptcies today.
Yep.
We've got the other thing we've got. I was talking about the Fanatec wheel. We've got an esports team. We run in the EA Sports WRC game. There's another Discord that a bunch of us have joined. It's like JWRC is the Discord, and they just put on seasons, and we're getting ready for season 15.
Whoa.
And basically they just do because they just kind of do them every month or so, and or they start them every couple months, and basically just do this one's got 3 different classes, and all of us that are in it did placements, So depending on how good we are, some people are in like top level. They set it up like actual WRC. So some people are in like WRC 1 cars, and I'm running like the junior J3 cars, whatever the hell it is, which are like 1600 cars, like front wheel drives, because I'm not as fast. So it's kind of cool the way they actually split it like real life rally series. So, but yeah, but we've got several people who are very fast, and then there's me, I just pick up spots from people who wreck. Listen, you gotta finish before you can win. So I try to at least finish, and I usually pick up people from attrition. So it's a solid tactic. Exactly. I've been trying to get faster. I've been getting faster with this wheel, so we'll see. It's still valid. Still a good wheel setup. Yeah. Your little hangout area out there. Yeah, I've been trying to get back into Forza, but the WRC game is like really, really good. So it's like more enjoyable. But anyway, that's a podcast. All right. Keep cars analog and aim for the roses.